His hand was already under my dress by the time my back hit the hotel room door. I did not stop him. I let him lift me off the floor, my legs wrapped around his waist, my mouth tangled in his. I could taste the red wine on his tongue. I could feel his fingers digging into my thighs like he had waited his whole life to touch me like that. And I let him. Even though I had a husband. Even though I wore a diamond ring with Jack's name engraved in it. Even though I had kissed my children goodnight less than an hour earlier. I let another man take me. I let him kiss me like I had not been kissed in years. I let him undress me slowly and worship my body in ways Jack had long forgotten. And somewhere between the sheets and the sweat, I stopped feeling guilty. I was not drunk. I was not lonely. I was just hungry. For passion. For something reckless. For someone who made me feel wanted. And now, I am about to tell you the story that destroyed my marriage, my home, and my peace of mind. Before we dive deeper, let me take a moment to say thank you to every subscriber on this channel. Your support is why stories like mine can be told without filters. And if you are new or returning and have not yet subscribed, I cannot wait for you to hit that button. It is the fuel that powers this channel forward. Drop your thoughts in the comments too, your voice matters. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Emily Caldwell. I am 35 years old, a mother of 2, and I work as a personal trainer at a local gym in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. I married my high school sweetheart, Jack Caldwell. We have been together since I was 17. Jack is a good man. Everyone says that. He is the man who wakes up at 5 in the morning, laces up his steel-toe boots, and builds homes for a living. He provides. He protects. He smiles at me like I am still 20. But somewhere along the way, something inside me began to feel invisible. He loved me in a steady, predictable way. I began to crave chaos. Passion. Fire. And then came Nathan Reed. Nathan walked into my gym 6 months ago. 34. Divorced. Ex-military. Chiseled like a statue, polite like a southern gentleman, and smooth like sin. He was the kind of man who listened with his eyes and flirted with subtle gestures. It started harmless. Small talk during sessions. Then lingering eye contact. Then playful comments. The day he asked, "Do you ever feel like no one really sees you anymore?" Something cracked open inside me. Because yes. That was exactly how I felt. He made me feel seen. Desired. Dangerous. And I let the feelings build. I did not stop the fantasy. I fed it. Every late-night text. Every accidental brush of his fingers during workouts. Every compliment. I collected them like confessions. It was a Wednesday. Jack had worked a double shift. The kids were at my sister's for a sleepover. Nathan texted me, "I need to see you outside the gym." Just once. I stared at that message for 30 minutes. My heart pounded like a war drum. I told myself it was just dinner. Just conversation. But deep down, I knew better. I wore a black dress. Not too short, but tight enough to feel like a second skin. I met him at a hotel bar downtown. The way his eyes raked over me when I walked in, I felt 25 again. Reckless. Alive. We barely made it through the first drink. We laughed. We touched. And when he leaned over and said, "I have thought about kissing you every day for the past 2 months," I felt my wedding ring burn into my skin. I kissed him. I followed him upstairs. And I let go of everything that had held me back. I drove home around midnight. The windows were down. The silence was unbearable. Jack was asleep on the couch, still in his work boots. A half-eaten plate of food sat on the table. He had waited for me. I stood there in the dark, looking at him, and for the first time, I felt something I could not name. Not guilt. Not shame. It was emptiness. Because I had tasted something wild, something raw, something forbidden, and I wanted it again. And worse. I knew I would. The second time was easier. There was no hesitation. No moral tug-of-war in my chest. No questioning if I should turn back. I told Jack I was going to a late spin class. I even wore my leggings and tied my hair up like I was headed to sweat it out. But I never stepped into that gym. Instead, I met Nathan at a condo he had access to, something a friend owned, or so he claimed. He opened the door shirtless, his jeans hanging low on his hips, and pulled me in like I was oxygen and he had been drowning. I did not resist. I never planned to. He was everything Jack was not. He was intense. Spontaneous. Possessive in a way that made me feel wanted, not controlled. He looked at my body like it was art and touched me like he had a right to memorize every curve. The way his fingers sank into my skin. The way he whispered things into my neck as he moved inside me, I felt like I had finally come back to life. But as quickly as it came, the high faded. Driving home afterward, I passed the school where my kids would be the next morning. I looked at the quiet, dark windows of my house and felt my throat tighten. Jack was in bed when I slipped in beside him. His back was to me. He reached out in his sleep and grabbed my hand. I nearly pulled away. That was the beginning of the split. Half of me was home. The other half was in that condo. I became a master of pretending. Smiling when I was broken. Cooking dinner with hands that still smelled like him. Picking up my daughter's glittery backpack from the floor while still aching from what Nathan had done to me just hours before. And Jack, he started noticing. Not all at once. Jack was simple, but not stupid. He began asking if I was feeling off. If something was on my mind. I lied every time. I am just tired. I am just distracted. I am just overwhelmed. The truth? I was addicted. Addicted to being seen. To being touched. To escaping the dull ache of the life I had built. There was a moment, one I will never forget, when Jack brought home flowers. Not just grocery store roses. These were wrapped in brown paper, with delicate wildflowers and a note that said, "To my favorite person. I miss you, even when you are right here." I thanked him. I kissed his cheek. Then I cried alone in the bathroom. I was breaking the heart of a man who had never stopped choosing me. At first, Nathan was attentive. Passionate. Always texting. Always calling. But then things began to shift. He grew possessive. Jealous. Asked questions like, "Do you still sleep with your husband?" and "Do you think about me when you are with him?" Sometimes he would show up unannounced, at the gym, near my neighborhood. Once, he followed me to a grocery store and waited for me in the parking lot. I should have ended it then. But I did not. Instead, I told myself it meant he cared. That he was just passionate. That I had stirred something in him no one else could. I lied to myself so well, I started believing him over my own instincts. Then came the night that changed everything. Jack and I were in bed. The kids were asleep. It had been weeks since we had been intimate, but that night, Jack reached for me. His touch was gentle. His eyes held a sadness I had not noticed before. It felt wrong. Not because I did not love him, but because I had already let someone else write on the parts of me Jack used to own. Still, I let it happen. For a moment, I closed my eyes and pretended it was just us, before the affair, before the lies. But then, I slipped. I moaned Nathan's name. Just once. Just barely above a whisper. But Jack froze. And I knew. He heard it. He knew. He did not say a word. He just got up, grabbed his phone, and left the room. I sat there, naked and hollow, as my entire world collapsed into itself. The next day was silent. Jack did not look at me. Did not ask for breakfast. Did not kiss the kids goodbye. He was cold. Distant. His silence was louder than 1,000 arguments. That night, I found him in the garage, sitting on a folding chair, holding my phone in his hands. I had forgotten to delete a message. Just one. From Nathan, I can still taste you. I need you again, baby. Jack said nothing. Just stood up, placed the phone in my lap, and walked into the house. My stomach turned. I could not breathe. It was no longer a secret. It was real. It was exposed. And Jack had seen all of it, how deep it went, how often I met him, what I allowed. The door shut behind him with finality. No yelling. No fists. Just heartbreak wrapped in silence. I tried to talk to Jack. I tried to explain. But what do you say to the man who gave you his name, his love, and his loyalty, only to watch you spit on all of it? He said 5 words to me that night. You are not my wife. That was it. He slept in the guest room. Started doing his own laundry. Refused to eat anything I cooked. He even created a new group chat with the kids, without me in it. Nathan, meanwhile, was blowing up my phone. He wanted to see me. Said we could be together now. That we could start fresh. I blocked him. Because as much as I burned my marriage to the ground, I finally saw Nathan for what he was, a fantasy. A drug. A mistake dressed as magic. But it was too late. The damage was already done. When Jack finally spoke again, it was to tell me he had contacted a divorce attorney. No yelling. No tears. Just a simple, clean cut. That was how Jack always handled things, like a man who knew how to demolish and rebuild. Only this time, he had no plans of rebuilding with me. I had hoped, foolishly, that silence meant hesitation. That maybe somewhere, buried beneath his heartbreak, he would try to forgive me. But he was already gone. Not physically, not yet. But emotionally, he had walked out the moment Nathan's name left my lips. And I deserved that. He stayed in the house while I packed. Not because he wanted to, but because the kids needed some sense of normalcy. I told them I was staying with Aunt Rachel for a while. I said Mommy and Daddy just needed space. They were young enough to believe that lie. But I saw the confusion in my son's eyes. The fear in my daughter's silence. Children know more than we admit. They feel when something sacred has been broken. I packed my clothes in silence. Took half the bathroom drawer, some old photo albums, and the necklace Jack gave me on our 5th anniversary. I do not know why I took that. Maybe to punish myself. Maybe to remember what I lost. The hardest part was passing by the kitchen table. The same one where Jack once taught our son to tie his shoes. The same one where I laughed with a glass of wine while pretending I was not cheating. It all felt like a crime scene now. Nathan thought he won. After I moved out, he called. Again and again. Left voicemails saying we could finally be together. That we could take a trip. That he was ready to build something real. I ignored him. And that was when the charm faded. The texts turned angry. Possessive. One night, he sent a message that read, "So I ruined your marriage and you still do not want me? You are just like my ex-wife, spoiled and broken." I blocked him again. Changed my number. I should have seen it sooner. He was never the escape. He was the trap. I did not just cheat on Jack. I let someone into my life who never truly cared about me. I handed over my soul to a man who used it like a toy. And when I had no one left to impress, when the thrill had turned to ash, I sat alone in a 1-bedroom rental with beige walls and a mattress on the floor, wondering how I got there. The last time I saw Jack face to face was 3 weeks after I moved out. He dropped the kids off early. I met him outside. I looked at him, searching for anything, anger, softness, regret. But his eyes were hollow. Not cruel. Not bitter. Just, done. I told him I was sorry. He nodded. I said I never meant to hurt him. He whispered, but you did. Then he got in his truck and drove off. No hug. No, maybe someday. Just the sound of tires rolling over gravel as the last man who ever truly loved me disappeared down the street. Nights are the worst. That is when the guilt crawls in, when the silence screams the loudest. I reach for a pillow instead of Jack's chest. I scroll through photos of the kids smiling with him at birthday parties and school events, ones I was too ashamed to attend after everything blew up. Sometimes, I replay the moment I kissed Nathan for the first time. Not because I miss it, but because I want to go back and slap the woman I was in that moment. The one who thought attention was love. The one who thought she was starving, but was really just bored. That version of me destroyed everything. There are no happy endings here. Jack did not forgive me. I do not blame him. Nathan moved on, probably latching onto someone else who is married and fragile. And me? I live alone now. I pay my bills. I go to work. I smile when I drop the kids off on weekends. But I am not the same woman. I lost the version of me who believed love was enough. Because love without loyalty is not love. It is just decoration. I did love Jack. Deeply. Honestly. But love does not cancel betrayal. It does not erase the nights I chose someone else's hands over his. And once you cross that line, there is no uncrossing it. You live with it. You own it. You carry it like a scar no one else can see, but you feel it every time you try to sleep beside someone new. I tried dating. Once. It was empty. Everything felt like a performance. I smiled at the right moments. Laughed politely. But I could not give myself to anyone else. Not because I missed Jack, but because I knew the worst version of myself still lived inside me. The one capable of betrayal. The one who burned down her home just to feel a little heat. So I chose solitude. And maybe that is what I deserve. There is no redemption arc here. No hopeful letter. No second chance. Jack moved on. He deserves peace. And I will never beg for his forgiveness. I gave that up the moment I laid down in a stranger's bed. So if you are still listening, thank you. Not for pity. Not for praise. But for letting me confess without filters. This is not a story of forgiveness. It is a story of consequences. And now, it is yours to carry, too.